So I wanted to make this video because I had an idea or a thought that came through. You gotta be a little quiet because my boy's back there sleeping. But I don't like movies. I don't watch them very often. I don't like fruit and ice cream. And I say that because it starts with, most people always ask me a question about what kind of movies do you like watching, or have you seen this movie, or they'll make some reference to a line an actor will say that is just like a titular quote that every person should know who watches movies. I don't like movies for multiple reasons. Part of that is where they come from. Part of that is they're just low quality now. There's like 6 movies that I'll watch. That could also point to other things, but that's not what this is about, right? What I'm saying is I don't generally like movies. I don't like talking about them, which means I don't like actors that are in movies very often. I like 2 actors. All right, I can tell you 2 actors reliably. So it's kind of like I don't like movies. I don't like actors, which I really don't like pulp culture. I don't like pop music. I'm not really into that whole scene. So when people ask me, who is that guy in Taxi Cab? Who is the main character? Oh, I have no idea. You haven't seen Taxi Cab? No. Why? I don't like movies. How come? Hollywood's ran by satanic pedophiles. Oh. Or what movies do you watch? Well, I like The Iron Giant. I like Star Kid. I like The Borrowers. And I have to struggle to really think of anything that would, The Lord of the Rings extended. But that's about it. I'm not a big movie guy at all. La League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That's kind of a super guilty pleasure. But I don't really. Oh, wow, those are old, early 2000s, 90s movies. Yeah, I just think that's where it kind of peaked. Oh, there's been good stuff that come after that. You got to check this out. I'm good. Well, it's just kind of like they keep the conversation going about something that I do not care about, right? And you got to be polite and just kind of listen along and say, yeah, But it's kind of that segue conversation, the segue storytelling, where I experienced this and now I have to tell you about it and my opinion about it the entire time to try to elicit an emotional reaction out of you. And it's that's what a movie is. And now you see why I don't like movies. So people are only able to act like movies, which makes me think, what do people fill themselves with now if that's all they can talk about? If their entire life revolves around telling stories in a romanticized or documentative way, in an entertaining way, then the only thing they have is the ability to tell stories to elicit an emotional reaction out of people. And I'm not a very emotional person. That doesn't mean I'm not an intense person. My emotions really don't affect my opinions on things. Very few things that I would say. As a guy, I think that's kind of what you're supposed to do. I love that guy. But also, why are we constantly trying to elicit emotional reaction out of people? Movies, entertainment, or even conversation. It's just everything is trying to get emotion out of you, right? And I don't like fruit and ice cream. Some reasons could be as a kid growing up, I had a babysitter that only fed us one type of ice cream, and it was strawberry, and I didn't really like her that much. Could be a reason. Could be I'm allergic. Could be I just don't like the flavor. But if I just say I don't like fruit and ice cream, and you're just asking me for what kind of ice cream I want. Like, it doesn't have to be a Socratic dialogue or a legal argument to validate why someone doesn't like fruit in ice cream. Or, what about this fruit? What about that fruit? You know, kind of like if I say I don't like fruit, that also probably means like strawberries and blueberries, right? That's one question. Another is like mango, yes. So like bananas, yes. Well, how come? Banana ice cream's awesome. Wow, you're weird for not liking banana ice cream. You see where I'm getting at? It's kind of like, why do I have to explain and validate a harmless opinion? And that starts getting to the fact that, like, isn't that just what narcissists do? They try to make you validate your existence to them to earn their validation. Yeah, your very existence being respected by another human being completely relies on how well you're able to explain the reasoning of your existence or preferences. So, like, what I'm trying to get at is yes means yes, no means no. And there's just a large group of people I feel like they don't understand that. And I think I've said this in a video before, but like, I'd rather debate someone smarter than me that I know I could lose to, instead of someone I know I'm smarter than and I know can't lose to. Because there's that possibility that I have an insight that smart person doesn't have, that I came up with or synthesized or found, or, you know, are able to understand, articulate, and share the same opinion about, you know. If I have something better than what you have for a very, you know, in a specific situation, opinion, theory, idea, execution, whatever, right? If mine is just better, the whole point of the debate is to get to the truth. And I think what we've kind of done to ourselves is we can't even have an opinion about what kind of flavor ice cream is. And we can't just not enjoy something and have to not have to explain why we don't enjoy something. Because, like, when it really comes down to life, we've turned everything into a debate. Everything's been kind of gamified. Everything has been, how good are you at it, or what are you getting out of it? We commoditize everything. And there's no, you know, physical capital or financial capital that's exchanged for that, but like your social capital through validation. So when you really need to kind of get down to the brass tacks about an issue, it is almost suicide to admit you're wrong about something, or that you don't know everything, or that your perspective, one, isn't the only perspective, and two, it may not be the clearest or precise perspective. Which means people identify their value with their mind, with how much they know. But we rarely value people's wisdom by using what they do know. For example, wisdom is knowing, intelligence is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that a tomato doesn't belong in a fruit salad. But intellect also is knowing what the ingredient to a fruit salad is, while wisdom knows what tastes good in a fruit salad. Both are equally valuable. But we've made it so judicial and legalistic that only intellect is valuable. So not necessarily how you use what you know, just how much what you know. And what's the easiest way to gather the most information about something? Consuming entertainment and media. You're not learning anything practical in a STEM field way, or a pragmatic in a capitalist or materialist or whatever society kind of way. You're kind of just learning more social capital. You're just kind of learning more to know more, so you are more validated in saying more, so you can validate why you have to say anything in the first place. What I'm trying to get at in this part is we've turned humanity's interaction with each other into exchanging what we know about things that don't matter. Instead of using that for the betterment of each other. That includes not just like quoting movies or video games or pop artists, or knowing the best place to eat or the best video game, or being the best at anything like that. It's maybe kind of realizing that turning everything into something you have to pay for is a bad idea for humanity at large. Maybe like making everything a competition, or a scale of haves and have-nots where someone has to be wrong and they should be punished for it. What if we could just like exist in a way that everybody tries to help everybody else out? And I know that's really idealistic and kind of childlike, but you got to realize people die because hospitals go out of business. And that's kind of weird, right? Like, why are they going out of business if there's people that need to go there? Well, it's because this imaginary thing that nobody has ever defined for us, money, this thing that is supposed to measure the flow of different types of capital for a system to kind of like grease the wheels and keep things moving along, instead of became a means to acquire power. So like, for example, the way I look at it is, if a hospital has 100 patients in their vicinity and they need to pay to keep the thing open, they have to charge those people something that doesn't exist for them to stay open, because they owe somebody else money, power, government, lenders, manufacturing, whatever, construction. But if they don't charge enough, that hospital will go out of business, and those people won't have a place to go, which meaning some of them who can't afford or manage to get to a further away hospital die because they don't get treatment. When instead, it kind of feels like it should be like, hey, if this is how many people are here and we just charge this amount, this will enable us to get more things, because we're showing that we need more things to serve this community. Not, I'm going to acquire all of this money so I can influence the world around me. Why does a hospital need to influence anybody other than to make people healthier? And then we have places that charge so much that people can't afford to go, but they still manage to stay in business. Why are so many mattress stores still open? I don't get that. Like, how many people are just like constantly shopping for mattresses? I know you're supposed to replace them, but like in this economy, anyway. To kind of pull it back in, We have to stop trying to make each other worth something to each other. Because I said this to somebody else. Humans are valueless, worthless, and priceless. But we are God's creation. There is nothing we can do, say, think, have, or whatever that makes us any more valuable than anybody else for any reason. I don't deserve more than anybody else for any reason. I shouldn't need more than anybody else for any reason. I shouldn't need a reason to validate that I need help like the rest of this generation. Why are you withholding help? Are you afraid for yourself? You got a problem. It doesn't make sense that we are withholding helping people because we don't find value in helping people. Just the act of it. It has to have a price tag attached all the time. So, like, who are the people that bogart culture, who bogart social capital, physical capital, financial capital? Who are the ones that really have control over everything in their lives today? Still, even though we've been kicked out of their house, been told to move. And what are they doing with all of the money they've earned, all the material wealth they've earned? What are they doing with it? Still bettering themselves. While asking us, well, have you stopped eating avocado toast? So let's bring movies into this. Hollywood's falling apart. Nobody's seeing movies anymore. And instead of maybe investigating, asking people who used to watch movies or watching the movies themselves and comparing them to old ones, instead of putting any effort into figuring it out why, they blame the people they're making the movies for. And the people are saying they suck. And you're making us still go to these movies. Or saying, I don't like fruit and ice cream. But then figuring out that, oh, they might like passion fruit or dragon fruit or some obscure, expensive stuff that we can't even afford at my generation. Ha! You do like fruit and ice cream. Have you tried getting this job? Yes, and it doesn't work. Have you tried getting that job? Yes, and it doesn't work. Have you tried going to school for this? Yes, and it doesn't work. Have you tried to, stop eating avocado toast? I can't even afford to go to Starbucks. To extend it to all the times that people try to get me from quitting or get me to quit smoking cigarettes. There's always those old people specifically. It's crazy that go like, if you didn't buy cigarettes, you could buy yourself a Maserati. If you do the math real quick, because I'm so smart. If you do the math so quickly, just real quick, all this money you're spending on, let's do that guy. All that money you're spending on could go to a car. A really expensive car. Not realizing that the reason people smoke isn't for material gain. Maybe the reason people don't like fruit and ice cream has nothing to do with anything you're talking about. Maybe the reason why they're asking for help and telling you what they need is because they've tried everything everybody else has asked them. Now, there may be one or two tries. Like, you like crocheting? Have you ever tried opening an Etsy shop? thinking that will make enough for anyone to avoid or afford $2,000 rent. But I digress. Sometimes people just don't like fruit and ice cream, and they just don't like movies. So stop bringing it up and maybe put some effort into avoiding that or finding something better to do, because they're good reasons. And if they're good reasons enough to say they don't want to do it in front of you, then they don't want to do it. Quit trying to spend time convincing them they're wrong. And maybe if you really want to figure out why they don't like movies, ask them and listen. Don't debate. It's not up for debate. They are telling you their opinion. And everybody's opinion is just as valuable as everybody else's. Now, it's up to you with your own value system to follow someone's opinion or not. But that's a personal thing. It's not a universal thing. But it should be a universal way if we understand what good and bad is. If we understand that Christ is the way and that everything else is wrong. So in a way, it is universal. But until you agree on that, everybody has their own way. And I've also found out that faith was more of a sports team to the older generations, at least from what I can see. They'll do what's comfortable, buying the t-shirt or the jerseys and going to the games when they're available or can afford it or whatever. But they're not willing to help their kids getting to the stadium or buying their kids any jerseys or teaching them what's so great about sports. They just expect them to be able to do it. And faith is more like being a player on the team. You go to the practices, you break your bones, you learn new things, you stop doing old things, you start taking care of yourself. And then the team itself gets stronger. Instead of you kind of just gluttonously, passively being a part of it by sending money to it, you become a part of the team. So I guess all in all I'm trying to say is boomers, if you really want the correct solution, first start listening to the people who are complaining, especially the younger ones. Try to really understand, really listen. It's not up for debate. They are telling you their lived experiences. That's the perfect place to start. Just listen to the people who are struggling. The best next step is pointing them to your church, because your church is the best church. And step 3 is everybody gets better and happier. Simple as.